capable of not thinking about XRP morning, afternoon, and night. They cannot help themselves. They can't help but say stupid things about it with their stupid little face holes and type nonsense about it with their fat little fingers on the Webernets. They just can't stop doing it. It's impossible. Now, I used to like it a lot less than I do now. It might sound weird. I'm actually very glad that it's happening, and some of you already know why. If you don't, I'm going to dig into that. But first, let me tell you at the outset, I'm going to share with you a few examples of people who suffer from XRP derangement syndrome, and there's one post in particular, which is so over the top, and it's coming from a place of obvious hatred for XRP itself, which makes no sense. It's alphanumeric code. Like, what the hell are you even talking about here? But it's also the people in the community, though. They just despise. If you like XRP, you become their arch nemesis, effectively. But there's one post in particular, which is just so over the top, so ridiculous, but it's also been so widely discussed within the community, I'd be remiss if I did not discuss. And so I'm going to. And I got some things to say about this, but it is completely ridiculous, and it's terrible. But even though it's terrible, it's good for us. They cannot help. Everything that these people are doing to try and bring down XRP, it makes XRP bigger. It just does. And there's actual data to back up that claim. That's not just speculation. Well, I've been speculating that for years because it just makes logical sense. There's actual data to prove it now. Oh, that's good times. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. All right, let's talk about the most innocent one first. This comes from Peter Brandt. Peter Brandt is one of the most well-known and trusted chart analysts in all of crypto with 807,000 followers. Well-deserved, and I say this in all seriousness, he is genuinely talented. He's been now trading for over half a century. He's well-seasoned, he knows what he's doing, he has a high accuracy rating when it comes to his predictions, except when he charts XRP. Somehow, when he charts XRP, he's just disastrously wrong. In fact, he has literally missed every single price move for XRP that matters, going back the last decade. Somehow he has a high accuracy rating with everything else, but when it comes to XRP, I don't know how to do it anymore. I mean, he'll keep predicting it. It's obvious his bias is seeping through. He suffers from XRP derangement syndrome, and it's hilarious. At literally every single move he's missed. And so, here's his most recent nonsense about XRP, and this is from August 29th. He wrote, "I post what I see. I assume strong opinions, always weakly held." Oh, okay. He has strong hatred for XRP. He's outright called it a scam. He's insisted that it's a security. No, they're strongly held beliefs. And then he says, "I am wrong as often as I am right." That's not true. He's just saying stuff to... because he knows people are coming for him when he types about XRP, this nonsense. Anyway, he says, "If you are offended by my charts, then that is your problem. The chart of XRP is potentially very negative." Okay, so that's one of the weaker forms of what he said in the past. But he endlessly chooses to put out negative stuff about XRP, and it gets seen a lot, and it gets circulated a lot. This one post from a few days ago is, on the surface, kind of innocent as it may seem. It's been viewed 197,000 times. One post. And then think about all of the reposts and all the additional quote tweets and everything else. It's been seen way more than that. One post. Now... and I'll get around to why this is actually good for us, even though he's putting out negative stuff here. But first, let me mock him a little bit more, because his charts, specifically his charts, I mean, not him as a human. I'm not mocking him as a human, but he clearly has such bad takes on XRP. Here's a post from him on August 1st, 2024. Okay. So, about 3 months before XRP started rocketing in price. So what was it worth around here? Probably like 50 cents or 40 cents, whatever it was. And so here, August 1st of last year, he wrote, and this is an XRP BTC chart, he wrote, "This chart pattern is a multi-year complex head and shoulders. If this chart penetrates the lower support line, then all X accounts with XRP initials attached will slowly disappear to never again be seen again," which is redundant, of course. And so what I was saying, because it is true, like XRP price against Bitcoin at that point, you can see how low it is down here. It's practically at an all-time low. But I've pointed out, and I said it a year ago, when XRP is priced that poorly against Bitcoin, historically, that is the point of maximum opportunity, and you can see it on this chart that he posted. Look at what happened in 2021 when it got priced that poorly against Bitcoin. It ended up rocketing. Now, I know it was suppressed because of the SEC, but still visually you can see it did go up. Then look at the cycle before that. When it was at that low level, rocketed. You can look back here in 2014. When it got to that low level, it rocketed. So we got down here again. I was like, folks, I don't think I'm a genius, but I don't think this time's going to be different either. I think it's going to rocket. And it sure as hell did. But his bias prevented him from just saying it. And so he missed yet another major call. He could have been gloriously correct, but he was absolutely wrong. And this happens all the time. But it can get way worse. This is the Litecoin account. This is the one I was talking about that is just nasty. Oh, you nasty son. Look at this one. 1.2 million followers. This one post from just a few days ago, it has now been seen, just this one post from this point of view, 783,000 times. I kid you not. And then, but you got to factor, okay, how many times has it been discussed in various YouTube videos? How many times has it been talked about on other platforms? And even on this platform, how many times has it been reposted? The quote tweets, everything else. So it's probably been seen, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the millions. Just this one single post. Now, it is from the Litecoin account. I don't even know who technically runs this. I did some light Googling to try and find out before recording the video. There was no obvious answer. One platform claimed that there's multiple people run the account. I don't know what's true. All I know is that this is perceived as the Litecoin account, right or wrong. 1.2 million followers, I mean, that tells you. And so here's what they wrote. Out of nowhere, unprovoked, ripping on XRP. Let me share with you the nonsense that they're writing here. This is the type of stuff that used to get me just like, kind of steam my vegetables. Not that I get like truly enraged by this, but I just kind of like, come on, guys. And now every time I see this, I'm like, yes, bring it. And I'll explain why in a second. But here's the post. Let me read this to you. This is from Litecoin. Fun fact, a comet smells like rotten eggs, urine, burning matches, and almonds. Most scientists say the closest comparison to this phenomenon on Earth is the idea that tokens called XRP would be sold off to retail investors with the illusion that a digital bank drive-up tube is worth more than the money it transfers back and forth because there are only so many tokens in existence and everyone will want one because the banking system of the world have been quietly making deals for over a decade to make XRP the replacement for Swift, and the president is sleeping with Brad Garlic Mouse. This is so stupid. So I'm not even going to waste time breaking down all the reasons why this is stupid. Obviously, this is somebody who suffers from the affliction known as XRP derangement syndrome. They cannot help themselves. And, I've spent years explaining why XRP makes sense, its actual value proposition, all the actual utility. This is a false narrative, framing it as if this is what we think XRP is. No, this... And then also, this shows that this individual whoever wrote this does not understand what drives demand for XRP and even more broadly speaking, the crypto space. And it's also hilarious because this is from Litecoin. Litecoin. What is Litecoin doing? And I'm not saying it can't run this cycle. In fact, I expect that it will with the rest of the market cycle. I'm not even talking about that. But how rich is that? Crapping all over XRP, one of the most useful cryptocurrencies in the entire space. It's coming from Litecoin, which does stuff. What's it doing? What you doing over there, Litecoin? What you doing over there? You kind of busy over there? What are you doing over there? I don't see you doing anything. What's going on here? So stupid. So anyway, I reposted that the other day, and I wrote, I love this. This is exactly what I've been talking about. Idiot large accounts unintentionally helping XRP succeed. People who hate XRP won't change their mind. People who love XRP won't change their mind. So who is left to persuade? Unbiased people who know nothing. Turns out, when those people research XRP, a ton of them end up agreeing that it's a great cryptocurrency and excellent investment opportunity. Thanks, Litecoin, for suffering from the affliction known as XRP derangement syndrome. Little bitches. They are little bitches, obviously. And I mean this. So, look, I've made up my mind. It'd be almost impossible to sway me at this point because I know everything that's worth knowing in terms of coming to the conclusion of whether or not XRP is worth investing in. They're not going to change their mind. They suffer from XRP derangement syndrome. Only people who don't have an opinion formed yet could come to a conclusion on one side or the other. That's who you're fighting for, basically. And it turns out like a ton of people think XRP makes sense, just like you and I, because it literally actually does for tons of reasons. And so what actually happens here is you bring in a ton of people that otherwise would not be in XRP. That's the truth of the matter here. Tons more people are in XRP than would otherwise be if not for that. And here's a post from Nick Crypto Crusader. He wrote he reposted that from Litecoin, and he had some stuff to say. He wrote, "The entire industry hates XRP because the entire industry fears what XRP can and will become. They also hate Ripple too for the same reasons. We are so used to Bitcoin and Ethereum maxis hating on Ripple and XRP, but now it's Bitcoin, Ethereum, Link, that's Chainlink of course, and Litecoin holders." And folks, that is true. Out of nowhere, these people cannot help it. They just have such hatred for XRP because they do view it as a threat. I believe that's why. And then they come at us, unprovoked. Anyway, then he says, "It's quite comical how the success and aura of XRP is now getting to the space. Stablecoin players have hated on Ripple once it was announced that they were launching RLUSD. Digital asset banks and their CEOs like Custodia Bank," Caitlin Long, that would be the founder of Custodia Bank, "started to hate on Ripple because they applied for a national banking license. The success surrounding both XRP and Ripple is putting intense pressure on the rest of the space. The funniest part about this is that Ripple isn't even competing with any of these projects." That is so true. They don't care, though. They view XRP itself as a threat. I mean, technologically, it actually just works. It does what it was intended to do, unlike most cryptocurrencies. And he ain't kidding. That's Caitlin Long right there, founder of Custodia Bank. Look at this headline from a few weeks ago. I covered this at the time. "Ripple flamed by Caitlin Long. XRP is doomed. Banks don't trust it." That's right, folks. She didn't speak like that until Ripple decided that they were going to try and get a national bank charter. And then she also claimed that XRP, there was an ICO for it, which is nonsense. Here's the headline from a few weeks ago. "Ripple CTO sets record straight on Caitlin Long's XRP ICO claim. It's obviously bogus." These people, they just come out of the woodworks. It's ridiculous. And so there was a post from Paul Barron, and it's not worth me, it is worth me rereading it perhaps, but I already covered it in a recent video, so I'm not. It's on your screen right here if you want to read the whole thing. I just wanted to point out that Paul Barron, who has a YouTube channel with like 1.6 million subscribers or something like that, 181,000 followers on X, way bigger YouTube presence, but he highlighted exactly what's going on here. And it means data science. He has data. He tracks this stuff to prove that XRP posts that are negative get like 10 times the exposure rather of an organic Bitcoin post even. And so even if it's negative, it doesn't matter because who are you trying to persuade? You're trying to find the neutral person who doesn't have an opinion yet, because that's the only person you could persuade. And it turns out since the facts and logic and reason aren't on your side, if you're bashing XRP, you're not going to win that battle. We win that battle. And there's data behind it. There's proof. That's the truth, folks. And so I just wanted to highlight a couple more examples and show you we're winning. And so it's worth engaging with them because then they're going to write back more, and then it gets more and more of the, if you want to call it the hype machine, the engagement machine, whatever you want to call it. It's worth it to respond to these people. And plus, anybody viewing it, if you're spitting out facts to correct them, that's good for anybody who is a blank slate that can then learn. So it's worth debating them for both of those reasons. So other people viewing can learn, and just because it's good and it makes XRP bigger. It's one of the things that's helped XRP to maintain its spot, more exposure. Now, it does have true utility, and so it has to have that as well, or else it wouldn't keep succeeding. But wow, this is a big part. Pretty cool.